The fact that the Daily Star manipulated that information that can be found on my website, unifyingoneonta.com, as you can find in campaign updates, the actual press release that was sent out. The fact that the Daily Star manipulated that information and purposely told a different story demonstrated to me right then and there that they are not interested in actually bringing the news, but are more interested in preserving someone else's interest. Therefore, I am not going to give up my sources, because as far as I know, they can call up the people I've spoken to, ask whatever questions they want to get the answers they want, and then use those quotes in whatever format that they look to discredit my platforms and myself as a candidate. The actual plans for bringing in passenger rail service, as Eric himself said, Buffalo, Utica, Syracuse, Binghamton, they're not receiving the passenger rail line simply because they waited for Amtrak or the State Department of Transportation to knock on their door. Some politician somewhere had to stand up and say, listen, we want to be a part of these plans. How can we make that happen? That's what I've done. I have never said that I have guaranteed passenger rail service will come into our community. I've simply looked at our history, which does see passenger rail line in our history, and said, how do we bring that back? I looked into federal and state plans that specifically identify the need for developing new passenger rail services. On a federal level, there's President Obama's Reinvestment and Recovery Act, which sees over $10 billion used across the country for communities that are very similar in our size and demographics. The opportunity to take advantage of that money is still available for the next year and a half, as the mayor or governor or whoever's in charge of a particular community can apply for that bid process. On a state level, last March, Governor Patterson announced a statewide comprehensive rail initiative program that would see current rail passenger services developed even further to increase their speed and reliability, but also saw new passenger rail lines being introduced into communities again. The fact that we have already had these services in our community makes us more susceptible for obtaining that opportunity, because we already have the tracks and because we have already supported that and can support it again. In that plan also includes an additional $9 billion within the state budget to see that these needs are met and addressed. I've met with numerous officials within the governor's office, within Amtrak's office, and with the State Department of Transportation. And the State Department of Transportation is really the main partner in making sure that this type of action takes place. In meeting with these officials, I have simply said, how can this happen? I've gone over the plans, and it's very, very real. It's not going to happen in the next year. It's not going to happen in the next 2 years. But it's something that can happen in our immediate future as far as the next decade, and it's something that's worth investing and researching in, simply because the money's out there to subsidize the costs. Money that's not always going to be there. So if we don't take advantage of the opportunity now, we're going to miss the boat further down the road.
That makes sense. Yeah. If you don't visualize something happening, if no one takes the initiative, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. But in doing so...
And I think the fact is that our population has been declining.
Right.
If you look at the statistics, and this makes it hard for a real estate investor or someone coming into this community who wants to, I guess, grow their assets, their investment in this community. It makes it difficult.
Right, and I just see, like I said, with the arts and entertainment programs, a world of opportunity with an additional means of transportation. A passenger rail service will allow Oneonta to become a bedroom community for the best and the brightest of the capital region and beyond to live here and commute elsewhere. It also affords our own residents the ability to live here and commute elsewhere to find suitable careers. We have plenty of jobs in Oneonta.
Is there a concern, though, that it might disturb the kind of small-town sense that we have to have a rail system coming through?
I don't believe so. I mean, I certainly believe in the importance of preserving our historical background, but you have to take steps to also modernize yourself so that you can become competitive. Oneonta is a very quaint, small city. However, we have a lot of jobs, we don't have careers. Right now, the average income for a family is only $30,000.
It's very low.
$30,000 certainly does not support any idea of providing substance for your children in the future as far as receiving education. It puts a lot of families in a very stressful situation as far as providing for your family on a weekly basis. And as someone who grew up in a very humble beginnings, I as an adult want to do everything that I can to make sure that other people's lives don't have to go through that stress. And
That's
if it means investing in this passenger rail service, then that's what I'll do.
I know we've, the last 10 years that I've been here, I've hired many contractors to work with me, and so many of those families are stressed. It's incredible.
Oh, absolutely. And we're not taking any steps to relieve that stress. We're constantly moving in small steps toward nothing. We don't have any long-term goals, and because we don't have any long-term goals, we can see, from our downtown what happens when you're not working toward anything specific.
Right. Well, okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. So your legacy, to go back just to summarize, would be to clear up some of these issues of employee integrity that we're facing in the city, to move quickly toward transparency in government,
absolutely,
to provide a vision for the development of the downtown and for the overall development of the city through possibly a rail system and attracting the arts to the city.
I just want to say, though, just to clarify for everyone, my platforms is not specifically passenger rail service. I also have a number of smaller ways that we can move toward creating careers and attracting outside retail industry.
What are they?
Well, the #1 industry in this country right now is green energy. And I have been endorsed by representatives of Silicon Solar, which is a world leader in solar development. I have extensive experience with working with these representatives and the people that are in charge of the company. And it's a very exciting opportunity to take advantage of. Green energy is the leading employer right now in this country, in the United States. And as far as the national economy comes, as well as the state economy, this is an opportunity that we desperately need to take advantage of. Silicon Solar would come in, develop solar energy through our city and municipal buildings to reduce the city's expenditures. But also the smaller steps is that Silicon Solar also provides the opportunity to educate yourself so that you can open up your own solar company, as many people take advantage of, which is great because we should always...
Because you meter back to the... Is that what you're referring to when you say form your own company, kind of that you meter back to the electrical, or you mean something
Well, they provide the training and education to take advantage of your own solar company.
To be a rep.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, the fact that not only do they invest in the community, but they also build more entrepreneurs is something that we should definitely consider. But there's also smaller steps. When I was in Plattsburgh, for the short time that I was there, the mayor was proactive in distributing compact fluorescent light bulbs to all households within the city. Now, CFL light bulbs last, I believe, 10 times longer than the regular light bulbs. They save 70% less energy. I'm sorry, they save 70% more energy. And per household, they save about $30. Well, Oneonta has about 4,000 homes. If we were to distribute 2 light bulbs to every home, over a period of 4 years, it actually saves about $400,000 for the city. Because we are looking at a serious budget that needs some serious answers, and we need to address the fact that we are going into our reserves, and because of that, our property values, property taxes will go up one day. These are small steps that we can take in reducing our costs, so that we don't have to look to increase taxes. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Now let me shift over to ask you on some of the landlord issues.
Sure.
Since we do have a landlords association here in Oneonta, and they're very concerned about some of the legislation that's been passed over the last few years in this administration. Specifically the summer rental ordinances, the family definition most recently, the moratorium, suggestions about rezoning. So those are 4 different, topics that I'd really like to hear your views on.
Sure. I mean, do you want to start off?